Episode 2 of Dept Q begins with a look at Merritt's hellacious ordeal while trapped inside this metal prison. She uses chalk to write different names up on the wall and settles on a woman called Kirsty Atkins. Back in the present, Akram and Carl discuss the Merritt case and try to figure out what could have happened. Moira shows up and checks on the pair, wanting progress on their chosen case. Government has given as large sum of money to solve these cases. So don't waste your time and select one of these. Give me a report so we can work immediately. Carl is determined to be as abrasive and difficult as possible, but Akram immediately perks up with the Merritt case. I'm surprised why he doesn't mention it before. Mork has found many things that doesn't make sense. He thinks it could be deliberate, not suicide. There were no witness and no one found her, and even no one see her. There may be long line of people waiting her dead. Prosecutor goes missing at the top of the game. They'll love it. Give it 1 or 2 days. Carl becomes angry. He said to Akram, "Get out of here." Carl's first port of call is an old officer called Fergus Dunbar. He was the man in charge of investigating the Merritt-Lingard case, and he's adamant he hasn't messed up the investigation. William was arrested at the time, but Fergus points out that his condition made it unclear how much help he'd be. Fergus also talked to the other passengers of the boat of same day, but found nothing. Fergus also ordered divers to look through miles of water, but found nothing. Carl realizes that William, brother of Merritt, could be the key here, and heads out with Akram to Egley House, where he's currently being kept. The woman in charge, Wallace, is quick to point out that William is not allowed to see people. Apparently some police officers came round before asking questions and left him traumatized. He had nothing to do with his sister's disappearance, nothing at all. Carl is not any old officer, though, and believes he can get through where the others have failed. Unfortunately, William has regressed in recent years, and he's not communicating beyond drawing pictures. However, he's not in any condition to be opened up to this sort of trauma again. While Carl gets nowhere with Wallace, he does have more luck with Maggie, the receptionist. Despite claiming William gets no visitors, in reality a woman shows and brings William various trinkets every month called Claire. She's the old housekeeper and carer of William. We saw briefly in episode 1 and another crucial thread for our characters to follow. They reach to meet Claire. They ask different questions about Merritt family and treatment of William. Claire has no love lost for Wallace, and she's very protective over William. It's here we learn that had an accident when he was 16 and suffered from serious head trauma, explaining his condition. Merritt never mentioned what happened at the time that caused this, but it could be important to note for later. The attention then turns to Merritt's work, and in particular, the Finch case that she lost. But she was ambitious. She was always exhausted with that case, working all hours, coming home late. Either she told you any threats she received. No, she is a very private person. She never told me about the trip that day. I came for work, but they were just gone. I saw the rest on the news. Do you like her? Mean she always tense, rude, keeps secrets, no friends, and you still like to live with them. Claire was with the family for 12 years, but only for William's sake. You have in your statement, she couldn't jumped off the boat. She never really liked Merritt, but does confirm that the bond William and Merritt had was so strong that there's no way she'd jump in the water without William following, or abandon him to this fate. Carl's issues away from this cold case continue both with his own personal demons and his situation at home. He was informed that his stepson's not been showing up at school. He went to home to meet him. He has an estranged relationship with his stepson, Jasper. They barely communicate at the best of times. Carl found that he's busy at home with a girl whom he's having sex with and continuously plays loud music. Carl isn't sure how to handle this, especially as this past trauma involving the shooting threatens to rear its ugly head at any time. Carl blames himself for what happened, but he continues to be standoffish at therapy. Rachel believes he's repressing his real feelings, and the show does quite a good job of blending the scene with awkward comedy, especially as Carl puts his foot in it over the woman's looks and her marriage. It's a brief segment, but it also works quite well to give Carl a bit of vulnerability. In fact, Carl's real therapy, not that he'd admit it, comes from speaking to Hardy, his partner in hospital. He's partially paralyzed as a result of that stray bullet, but Carl visits him regularly, partly out of guilt, but also to discuss cases. He drops off Merritt's file and lets the guy have a gander and read the case thoroughly. One lady came to meet Merritt, and she asked that why are you here? Merritt told her a name, Kirsty Atkins. What did you do with her? As we find out later in the episode, Merritt put Kirsty behind bars. She was initially a drug addict, but she's been clean for months. She also appears to have known the deceased in the Finch case, and Merritt wants to use her to testify and get a conviction. Merritt also offers a flippant proposal of getting her out, but of course this is all a play as Merritt doesn't believe Kirsty is telling the truth. Why did you not help her? She told me one day she was in serious trouble, but I just left her there. I could have helped her. Yes, you could have. Realized that vile you were. Now you're the one who needs to pay. I feels just good. Then they torture Merritt. Then Merritt told them that you can't keep me here forever. Merritt Lingard's old supervisor, Stephen Burns, shows up to see Carl here. He asked him that why you choose the Merritt, your first case. I just have a look all of them and choose one file. He told him the whole story of murder case of Finch. Then he asked him, that do you think she'll be alive? Carl doesn't have much faith that Merritt is still alive. Akram comes and interrupted them. Akram said, please come outside, there's a press conference. But Carl has no idea, conference for what. But Moira decides to use this to prop her own publicity up a notch. She speaks to the public about the new department and the cold cases they'll be working on. So there'll be justice for everyone. Our detective chief, Inspector Carl Mork, who's here to share more detail. Carl is thrown right into the deep end after and has to read a statement regarding Merritt's disappearance. He fumbles his way through it, struggling to keep it together while William immediately perks up as he watches this, as do the people keeping Merritt hostage. As he does, we cut across to Carl, who leaves the press conference, spiraling and struggling to compose himself. Akram is there to see him and understands the guy is having a panic attack because public started the questions about Carl and his paralyzed friend who were shoot. We have discussed it in episode 1. As for William, he throws the TV out the window and runs away from Egley House. Akram came to handle Carl. Just relax and control your breath.